All right, welcome back to Adobe Lightroom Classic to Adobe Photoshop. This is video number 2 in the series, and today we're going to take a look at how to take your memory card and then import those images into the Adobe Lightroom Classic catalog. All right, we're also going to take photos and not put them on our internal hard drive. We're going to put them on an external hard drive. I always suggest that you use an external hard drive. I will explain why when we get to that section of the video. During the import process, we are going to rename a folder and rename the files. We're also going to use the new AI culling. I will show you how that works. It's pretty cool. And then after we're done with that, I'm going to show you how to manually cull the rest of your images inside of Adobe Lightroom Classic. So let's slide on over to Adobe Lightroom. Welcome back to Adobe Lightroom Classic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at how to import our images. And so what I'm going to do, and notice that the program open. So when they're open and I'm using an SD card, I'm going to go ahead and put my SD card into computer. And you can see when I do that, it automatically launches the import module. Now I'm going to come down here to done. And if you don't see it pop up, we can just manually come here and say import, or you can come up here and go file, import. All right. So in case, I'm almost always going to show you the quickest way, and none of the time does it involve using any of the information up here. So we're going to go ahead and click on import again, and it's going to pop up the import window for Adobe Lightroom Classic. All right, so we are now inside of the import window of Adobe Lightroom Classic. You can see over here it says EOS Digital. So it's reading my SD card that I just put in. Occasionally it doesn't see it, so you'll need to click it and try to reload it. If it doesn't, you might need to either take it out of your camera and add it back in, or you can manually find it. So you'll see right here, all the devices I have on my computer are here, and it's showing the EOS Digital. So I would just manually click on EOS Digital. I would need to make sure that this little arrow is open, and then that arrow, and then the photos on this computer are going to be inside of this folder. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and they will appear. All right. Notice right here it says eject after import, and what that means is after we import our images, it's going to eject the card. It's not going to spit it out of your computer, but it's going to make it so it's safe for you to eject or pull the card out of that SD slot. Otherwise, you would manually need to dump that out or eject it so you can safely take it out of your computer. So right here we have all the images that are on this SD card. So we're seeing everything here. And I use these very specific because we're going to use something new on the computer. So what we can see right here are all the thumbnails, and just like before, if I wanted to go to a single view, I could go to a single view, but it's not really that helpful. So I'm going to go back to the grid view, and you'll notice that in the grid, all these little boxes have checks in them. So that means that at this point, all photos are going to be imported because they're all selected, right? If I want to uncheck them all, right now, if I hit import, which I can't because nothing is selected because there's nothing to import, or I can hit check all and it selects everything. I can also come in here and manually click on just the images that I would want to import by clicking the little box, right? That could take some time. I can do what we call a shift click. So I can select an image, then go to the bottom, hold shift, and it selects everything in between those 2 points. Then all I need to do is just click one of these little boxes right here, and it will make the boxes on everything. And then those are just the images. Or we can individually select images in different locations. And the way that works is if you're on a Mac, you hold Command, and if you're on a PC, you're going to hold Control. And then anything I select is going to be selected. However, notice it doesn't have the check mark, so you're still going to need to go to one image, click it, it's going to give you the check mark. So in this case, I'm going to go uncheck all and then check all because I want all of the images to be selected. So right up here, we have something new. And this new thing is called assisted culling. We're going to use that and get into it in just a second. But what we need to do is we need to go all the way over to here. So you can see over here, this is the location of where your photos are going to go to. So in this case, mine is the pictures folder on the hard drive. I do not want that. So I'm going to change the location by selecting this and hit other destination. So this is going to create a path to a new location. So I have an external hard drive. You can see this is where all my photos go, and I'm going to go ahead and hit choose. And then up here, we're going to see the new path, which is that hard drive. Now, photographs take up a lot of space. New computers have SSDs. The SSDs are not big. If you save your photos to the SSD on the internal hard drive of your computer, you will fill it up and get the wonderful scratch disk full. And then at that point, you won't be able to do anything on your computer because your computer actually needs free space to work. So I always save my photos to a fast external SSD to work on. So that's why I'm using that location. Right here, we have build preview. And so that is this little preview that we see right here. Like what quality do we want that when we go into that library module? I have mine at standard, but you can do minimal, embed as a sidecar, or 1:1, which is full size. All right. The farther down you go, the more memory it's going to take up. So we have something called smart previews. I'm not going to select that. Right here it says do not import suspected duplicates. What that means is if you had imported these images and then you forgot about it and you came back and you tried to re-import this card, it's going to show up as all gray because it's going to know that you've selected those images already, imported them into your catalog. This is usually selected, but I have turned this off because when I do tutorials, sometimes I need to do that. Next, it's going to say don't import rejected items. I don't really cull at this point, so I'm not going through and saying yes, no. I have images that I don't like, so I have that unchecked. But if you didn't want to import an image, and we're going to see that in the assisted culling here in a second, you might want to check this out. So at that point, I'll explain what that means. Make a second copy. So this is actually a good thing, and it depends the way you want to do it. So as I stated before, we're going to be importing our images to this SSD. But you should always back up your photos and have them in at least 2 locations because the import could go bad or the drive could blow up just after you do it. So in this case, if we wanted to import them into a second hard drive in a different location, we could check that little box and then we pick that location. And then during the import, it would put them in both locations at the same time. We can also add them to the collection. So that was in the library and something we'll talk about later. I don't use it. Next, we have file renaming. And at this point, we are going to do this. And so I use custom name. Okay. And custom name is right there. So if you look at this file right here, its file name is 35A9763CR3. Am I ever going to remember that? So this is my dog. If I wanted to find my dog, I wouldn't remember this number to search for him. So it would make a whole lot more sense if we put the dog's name there and then it's a searchable field. So I'm going to come here into the custom text and put the dog's name. And now you can see here when we import, it's going to change all those file names to this. And so it's going to be pupup.cr3. And so it's going to be pupup 1, 2, 3. It's going to go ahead and sequentially name those as it goes through. So that's going to rename files. This is something that you should always do. I know it sounds tedious in the beginning, but let me tell you how many people I get on YouTube whining because they can't find their photos. Apply during import. So these are developed settings. So essentially, if you wanted to use a preset and do some sort of style to every photo, you could select these. So the cool thing is Lightroom is non-destructible. So even if you do this, you can always go back to the revert to the original state. It's not a big deal. I don't use that. Right here, we have metadata. You can see I've created a couple different ones. So metadata, and this is probably my favorite thing to use that most people don't use. And I'm going to go ahead and select new so you can see this. And so this is information that you can add to every single photo. Let's go to one that I filled out. But normally you would see almost all of this information filled out because I do a lot of editorial work and they need to have captions and they need to have locations and a bunch of information. So you can scroll through here and look at all this different stuff you can add to every single photo. And then once you're done, you would create and save that. And then you could apply that metadata automatically to every single image during the import. In this case, we're just going to use my basic one that's going to put that information. Here we have keywords. So if I wanted to add pup to this, that would be a keyword that it would help to search that field. I could put chihuahua, dog, whatever. The next thing we have is destination. By default, it's organized by date a lot of times. In this case, I'm going to put into subfolder, and I want to change this to into one folder. And this is the reason why. If you use date, and let's say I took these on Friday and these images on Saturday, when it imports, it's going to put the Friday images in a folder and the Saturday images in a folder. And usually I want all the photos from a shoot into the same location. Now, in this case, it's two completely different things, but you'll see why I'm using this in the tutorial here in a second. So I'll always use into one folder, because if you shoot like your whole trip and you don't want your images for every single day in a 2-week trip, because that would be like 14 different folders that you would have to look through, which can be difficult, it's not helpful. So I'm also going to rename this folder. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to rename my folder, and it's going to be in this hard drive location. And when you get into the hard drive, this subfolder is what that folder is going to be called. So I'm going to use the date, and today is 01-22-26 now, okay? Now, a lot of people are going to use like that backwards or forward slash, and you can see that it turned red. It does not like that character. You can't use it, all right? And if you wanted to do the full date, so it was 2026, you could do that as well. It is super helpful to have the date of when you photograph something. And then I'm going to have another dash, and I'm just going to put exactly what I put up here for the custom text. So I know what the date is of the folder and what is inside the folder. And if there's anything else you want to add, you can simply add it there. And so now that's going to go into this location and into that folder. Hey, if you're looking for something new to wear, I have a company called T-Lab Designs, where I design custom t-shirts and apparel. We make stuff for adults and children. Now, the last thing we're going to come and look at is normally you would just go ahead at this point and hit import. And that would import your images and add all that information and change everything, and it would be wonderful. But it's going to add every single photo that you have. We also have something new, and this is really new. It just came out about a month ago. It's called assisted culling. So we're going to go ahead and select it. And guess what? This is the first time I've used it. So we're going to go ahead and click this, because that's going to annoy me. I don't want it. And we can come over here to the assisted culling. The first thing we're going to do is look at subject focus. So I'm going to go ahead and click this little box, and you can see instantaneously it's put little red marks where an image isn't in focus. So I have a little slider right here so I can control the sensitivity. I can also do eye focus and eyes open, all right? Down here, it's gonna say reject documents and receipts. So if I had a receipt from a store in this that I photographed, or a misfire, like where it's completely black, or an exposure issue, we can select that and it's not going to import those images. So next we have auto stack. And so right now you can see all the images, even though they're called, are out and viewable, but I can hit capture time. And you can see right here, it has 6 photos, and then it has 40 photos, and then 11 photos. So it's putting them on top of each other so they don't take up a whole bunch of time. When you import them, you can open up the stack and view all the images. Personally, I don't like stacks, so I'm not going to go ahead and do that, right? And then it says view selects, rejects, and all, okay? So if you remember over here where we had that option to don't import rejected images, now we can click on that. And what it's done is it's taken all the images that we didn't like and it's not going to import them. So this kind of helps us narrow down and not save images that aren't going to be used. I would suggest that you maybe go through and double check to make sure they're really unusable. I don't know how much we can rely on this being accurate at this time because it is new, but it should work pretty well. So at this point, since we've selected this little button over here, we're going to go ahead and click import. If you hit done, it's just going to stop, but it's going to save the information. If you hit cancel, it is going to just forget everything that we've done already to this point. So we're going to go ahead and hit import, and we'll give it a second. And so the way this works is it is now moving the image over to the computer, and at the same time, it's rewriting the information. So now if you look at the file names up here, you can see that the file names have all been renamed. All right, so they don't have that weird number. They're all in that folder. And we've got our photos right here for us to go through. So I'm going to go through and click that little single view window because I don't want to go through it. So at this point, we've had the computer cull the photos, and it's picked out the images that are all in focus at this point. But I need to now go through and pick the images that I actually want to use. Because when you take photos, yeah, you're not going to use everything. So I'm going to show you the quick way to do this. Then after we're done doing that, I will go through and show you a few different ways and ways to access those menus. So the way I'm doing this is on my keyboard, and I'm using a keyboard, but you could also use your mouse for this. I have my fingers on the left and right arrow keys. So if you look down here, we're on this single photo. So if I tap the right arrow key, it goes to the next image. If I take the left, it goes back. You could manually do this by using a mouse or any other process that you want to do, okay? This is letting me toggle through. That is my right hand on those arrows. With my left hand, I can hit the number 1. And what happens when I hit the number 1? Well, if you look right here, we have a little 1 star, okay? So if you keep looking at these little stars that we see right here, if you hit 2, you get 2 stars. 3 gives you 3 stars. 4 gives you 4 stars. 5 gives you 5. Now, we're going to go on, but you need to come back down to here. If you hit 6, it gives you a little color. So if you look right there, there's a little color around that box. It's red, okay? Then we're going to hit 7. That gives a different color. 8 gives another color. 9 gives another color. And then if you hit 0, watch back up here, it gets rid of the stars, okay? There's no way to get rid of the color box around the image. And I'll show you what we use these for. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 6, 7, 8, 9 for colors. And 0 gets rid of the stars. You can also edit that from here. So if you go to Photo, and then you come down to Set Rating, you can see right here, 1 star. And in all the Adobe programs on the far right, you're going to have something, and that is the quick key. So that's the number 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5. At some programs, it might be the Command 5 or the Control 5, but it's always telling you what that quick key is that you use. But coming up here to get every one of those would be impossible. You can decrease the rating with that bracket, increase with that bracket. The color label is here. And if you wanted to get rid of the color labels, notice there's not a quick key. You need to manually come in. You can also set a purple, but there isn't a quick key for that. There's also the ability to flag images. So you can flag, unflag, or reject. I don't use it, but if you want to use it, it's PU and X. In this case, we're just going to use the stars. The way culling works is I'm simply going to go through my images. So the reason I don't use my mouse and I use the keyboard is just because it's faster for me. So I'm looking at my photo, and if I like it, I give it a star. So I'm going to go through. His eyes are closed. I don't want that. I don't want that. Eyes are closed. Don't want that. Don't want that. Don't want that. Don't want that. Oh, well, say I like that image. I can give it 1 star. Look, I don't care if it's a 5-star or 1-star image. I'm just using this to identify the photos I like. You will see in a second, though, why I give it 1 star. So we're going to go through. I like that one. 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 And he's looking weird. Looking weird. These are no good. That one. All right, and now we're at the end. So now we've given stars to the images that we like. So one thing you need to know, when you're giving stars, you can't click on the image up here to give it stars. You must click on the thumbnail to give it stars. So the next thing we want to do is we now just want to see the images that I gave 1 star to, because those are the ones we're going to use. So right now we're at filters off. I'm going to click that and drop down to rated that we see right there. And it's going to now show me just the images that have 1 star. Don't worry, it doesn't delete anything. If I want to go back, I can just go to camera info. It shows me all the photos. But in this case, I just want to see the rated images. And you'll notice right here, it's images with 1 star. I can go back through my images a second time, and I'll do this a lot when I have a lot of photos. I can say, oh, I really like that one better than the first one. So I'm going to switch that to 2 stars. I'm going to give that one 2 stars. And that's it. So I gave 2 images 2 stars. Then I can come over here and say, hey, I don't want to see 1-star images. I only want to see 2-star images. And so now I have these 2 images, which are my favorite, and those are my 2-star images. So after you have colored your images, and now we are down to 2 images, that's when we would come up here, click on the develop module, and we could go into editing or adjusting these photos. So this is the next option. We will take a look at this in the next tutorial. Well, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up if you found this video helpful. If you have any comments or questions, you can always leave those in the comment section below. And have an absolutely wonderful day. Hey, if you're looking for something new to wear, I have a company called T-Lab Designs where I design custom t-shirts and apparel. We make stuff for adults and children.